Good morning, y'all. It is January 31st, and I have not been more excited about a month ending in I don't know how long. January has been really long, and it's been really cold, and I'm glad to see it over. The vehicle that's my vehicle. That's also the only kind of means of transportation in relation to Allodium to get supplies and all sorts of stuff. Its alternator broke in January, so for a time I was just charging the battery before going out, and the charge would last long enough to go on a supply trip and back. And then it took, so I'd have to wait for a sunny day and then charge the battery on a sunny day, so it's kind of weather dependent when I would do things. Then I realized I could mount a solar panel on it and hook it up that way, so I made a video about that. And that worked for a week or two. And then I got the alternator replaced. They have shortages of all sorts of parts now. There's of the 4 different kinds of alternators, only one was, but they didn't even have any new ones. They had to do like a locally rebuilt one. It's just interesting how the supply chains are continuing to break down, and that's continuing to get worse. And a lot of places are seeing grocery store shortages, and all of these various policies and control mechanisms, governmental control mechanisms, are just ruining the economy, and they're just continually getting worse because the underlying reason is the foundation of the money supply is bankrupt, and they keep just creating money out of nothing, currency value out of nothing, and then giving it to their governmental, the people who are connected with who are corrupted and in the network of all that. Atlas Shrugged is a great example of this playing out and what it leads to. And there's no alternate that it's going to lead to. It's overall system collapse that we are experiencing in real time, and it's a slow process because it's a giant system, and it has so much momentum that things take years and decades to manifest. But really, the 2001 false flag was all kind of a way to leverage that bankruptcy to try to use the military to say that, oh well, if you don't accept our hegemony, then everyone will be an enemy, will be the terrorist. And then that didn't work so well. They couldn't invade all the countries that they wanted to, that Wesley Clark told us was the plan. And so by 2008-9, the whole thing was bankrupt. And instead of letting the thing fail, like in a free market would happen, the state took control, and then they bail out all of the failing institutions that bought influence and corruption. They let the ones that didn't fail, and then inverted the entire economy. So there's no free market. It's just the stooges, the slaves who pay the taxes into the system. Their money just goes to these centralized organizations. And now with the latest iteration of the COVID, it's just to the next extreme level, where they just shut down all the small businesses and only the big ones can thrive, and they pass all these crazy regulations. And there's nothing that's breaking the trend cycle, okay? So the trend cycle has been going on for decades, and it's continuing to get successively worse. And there's nothing that's going to stop that. They say the Fed will raise rates 7, 5, or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 7, 8 times in the next year or two, but they won't break their own system, because the only thing they're going to do is continue to leverage their system. So they'll use the COVID agenda, the threats of war agenda, to cut off everyone who calls the bluff, and then dominate everyone else who's within their system. That's a guarantee. That's what's going to happen. So the solution is to extricate oneself from those systems of oppression, if not through relocation, then through reorientation of values, ideals, actions, and ideally getting off grid, forming communities that can de-dollarize, survive without the necessity of the dollar, and form a degree of sustainability. So that's what's going on here at OG Foundation in Allodium, and that's been what's been going on for. Piece of wood started smoking because it was leaning against the fire. Well, I've been doing this. I've had the intent for over a decade. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and Allodium has been going for about 4 years. I think Bitcoin Cash is like 4 months older than Allodium or something like that. But really, I see Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin originated back in, is it 2011 or 2010? I don't know the actual date. I should look that up. But a few years after the system failure of the too big to fail bailout, and that was one of the primary motivators for the necessity of Bitcoin, even though the intent had been there for a long time for people to create digital currencies that are secure. It didn't actually come to fruition until the market need for it was there. So anyways, what else happened in the last month? It's basically just been really slow here. It's like hibernation mode. We've just been keeping the fire going, keeping the animals warm. There's 2 cats, a dog, a fish or a couple fish, and a dozen or so chickens. There was a rooster. I killed the rooster. He had this eye infection that got worse and worse, and I tried for over a month to help him. I gave him antibiotics for weeks, and then I gave him ivermectin. I tried to use iodine. I did like surgery on his like eye socket, like removing this like tumorous growth, and it just got worse and worse to the point where it was not getting better and he was just suffering. So I shot him with the shotgun and left him out for the animals to eat because the ground was too frozen to bury. And that's the reality when you live off grid and in an ecosystem of creatures, that there's death. That's just a reality. There's been lots of chickens that have died over the years, and cats and dogs, and only one cat here actually, but in general, fish. So that's pretty much all of the update. The general economy is on the exact same trend. The Bitcoin Cash is the currency solution for people to use over the internet to maintain transactional supply or capability, essentially liquidity. Bitcoin Cash is the most liquid currency that is available because it's easier and cheaper and faster, and there's less intermediaries to use it in order to buy just about anything else. And it's more difficult to get it than it is to get the other currency. So it's more valuable, it's more scarce than the dollar, than precious metals, and it can be used to get whatever is necessary. It's volatile as well, so I still hedge my position personally, mostly with silver, and in Allodium the primary reserves are in gold. Silver is the all good AG money for gentlemen's currency, and gold AU is the authority money for nation states and whatnot. So everything has its place, and I recommend not only the Bitcoin Cash and silver and gold, one for the currency, the other two for savings, but to prepare for physical resources, for having a food supply, water supply, energy supply, to be able to supply the necessities of life as the system continues to fail. And basic survival instinct. If you want to survive, you need to figure out the things that you need to survive and plan ahead for such things. The Bitcoin Cash podcast, I was a guest on that. I think if that wasn't in the last month, it was in the last month and published in the last month. So that is linked via the OG Foundation channel. And finally, I would just say for anyone listening to this, if you would like to become a member of Allodium and open an account so that you can generate an appreciation token every day, that you can be appreciated for being a member of Allodium, and then you have that value appreciating in the value of the appreciation tokens that accumulate in your account, then just message me. Anyone who's watching this, I'm probably happy to sponsor, and then you could have the source of abundance in your life, and Allodium can appreciate having more members as a part of it. The one thing that I'm kind of looking forward to in relation to all the things I just said is creating a SLP token on the Bitcoin Cash network so that appreciation tokens can trade on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And it's technically it's very simple to do, and yet sometimes these technically somewhat simple tasks can still be daunting for me because I'm not very technically oriented, and sometimes it can be better to not do something than to make a mistake doing something. But that is about all I have for this January update. I hope everyone is doing well, and I will talk to you later.